Part 108. Are you crazy? If you become the leader of the clan, all the clan members will become emperors. Author, greedy for the body but not FO. Chapter 1071. Present. Above Nanzan Hai's Hu. The only person Xiao Xian can trust is Han Xian. Therefore, he also expressed his thoughts. Finished saying this. Han Xian was directly shocked, his eyes were full of disbelief, looking at Xiao Xian as if he were looking at a monster. This kind of thing is really unbelievable. Xiao Xian is only a second star in the Blue God realm. This strength is only a drop in the ocean in Nanzan Hai's Hu. To put it harshly, he is just the most ordinary cultivator. However, he actually said that he wanted to establish a sect. Are you sure this isn't a fantasy? You must know that Han Xian was also at the Golden God level back then, but the Yuling sect in his hands was only slightly famous. Even now, Han Xian still has the strength of the little Golden God realm, but he does not dare to go to Yuling sect to seize the master of the sect that originally belongs to him. What's the reason? Isn't it just that he is not confident in his own strength? But now, Xiao Xian looked confident, as if this was such an easy thing. Do you know that Nanzan Hai's Hu is different from Dong Huangjia's Hu? Here, even practitioners of the Golden God realm may not be able to create sects at will, Han Xian couldn't help but say. Why? This seems to be different from what your old man said before. Xiao Xian frowned slightly. He clearly heard what Han Xian said just now, that as long as he has enough strength, he can create a sect. Why has it changed now? He remembers that Han Xian is not a person who goes back on his word. Of course. If you want to establish a sect, you will naturally need territory and disciples. If you don't have the strength of the Golden God realm, why would others support you or even follow you? Han Xian couldn't help but said. Hear this. Xiao Xian smiled instead. Support. Follow. Or even risk your life to follow. He has seen too many people like this. Indeed. His current strength is only 2 stars in the Blue God realm, but his combat power is definitely more than 2 stars in the Blue God realm. He knows better. For most practitioners, the only thing worthy of their following is sufficient cultivation resources or sufficient cultivation guidance. As long as it makes them stronger. Don't blame you if you are a second star in the Blue God realm or a second star in the Golden God realm, they will all follow you. If nothing else. Xiao Xian was still 1 star in the Kang God realm before, but in the end, didn't he still let Lang Tu, a 5-star Kang God realm, follow him wholeheartedly? Of course, maybe there is a reason for this soul contract. But everyone knows. Xiao Xian, a 1 star in the Kang God realm, can bind a soul contract to Lang Tu, a 5-star Kang God realm. This is enough to prove his methods. At this moment. Needless to say, Xiao Xian said that Han Xian also vaguely felt the former's overwhelming self-confidence. At this time, Han Xian even felt it. The person standing in front of him was not a second-star Blue God realm. Instead, he is like a veteran master who has been practicing for many years and has rich experience. Sometimes, he has a feeling that he cannot see through the ladder. The future life is terrible. What a terrifying life. Han Xian couldn't help but smiled bitterly and shook his head. Back then, when he first broke through to the Blue God realm, he was slightly older than Xiao Xian. That time, he was once very high-spirited, thinking that he had broken through to the Kangshen realm at a young age and could be regarded as a proud man of heaven. The idea of creating a sect and establishing a sect also came up. But later, only after seeing with his own eyes the ability of a strong man in the Golden God realm to conquer mountains and seas did he realize how low his own abilities were. Also since then, Han Xian became more mature and stable, but at the same time, he also lost the passion and enthusiasm of a young man. Now I see Xiao Xian's appearance. His heart suddenly became passionate again. For a moment, it seemed as if he was young again. Think of this. Han Xian also nodded slightly and said, since you have this idea, you are in agreement with me. If you really want to create a section, when the time comes, I can ask the Yuling sect to help you. Thank you. Xiao Xian also nodded slightly. In fact, these days, he can also see that the old man Han Xian is quite honest. The reason why he was picked up all the way from the eastern wasteland giant continent. The purpose is also very clear. He just wanted Xiao Xian to help him restore his position as the leader of Yuling sect. Perhaps Xiao Xian was a little worried that he was not qualified before, but now, he no longer has such worries. Willing is simple. Although there are many powerful cultivators in Nanzan Heizhu, correspondingly, various cultivation opportunities have also been greatly increased. For this situation, on the contrary, Xiao Xian became more confident. 3 days later. It's the day when the Lingcheng Dan Pagoda is opened. All cultivators can participate in the Dan Pagoda trial if only 10,000 Dao stones are produced in the entire continent or even the entire continent. In these 3 days, you can just rest and recover some of your soul. Han Xian arranged, by the way, I can get familiar with the environment of Nanzan Heizhu. For such an arrangement, Xiao Xian naturally had no objection, just nodded, and lay down in the room and fell asleep. Even he didn't expect it. This great awakening. He actually slept until the day when the Danta was opened. If Han Xian hadn't taken the initiative to wake him up, Xiao Xian would have fallen asleep. This also surprised Xiao Xian and made him puzzled to know. Since embarking on the path of cultivation, he has always been self-disciplined and diligent. He gets up early every day to practice and goes to bed late to practice. He can be said to be a model worker in the world of cultivators. Even when seriously injured, he also insisted on cultivating the soul. Many people believe that Xiao Xian only relied on various opportunities to achieve such achievements. But in fact, even without these opportunities, Xiao Xian can still become the best among his peers with his talent and hard work. Today, as soon as he opened his eyes, he asked about the date. Only then did I realize that it was already the day for the Dan Pagoda to be opened. This really surprised him. Don't worry. This is just me using the method of fish spirit to teleport 2 people to a continent. Naturally, this will also consume a lot of energy. Seeing Xiao Xian's puzzled face, Han Xian also explained, however, as long as you take a short rest, your energy and soul will be fully restored. Judging from your appearance, it seems that you have almost recovered. Hear this. Xiao Xian noticed it. Even Han Xian in front of him had a trace of fatigue on his face and eyes, as if he hadn't slept for several days. But hear these explanations. He can understand it too. It is also a teleportation avenue. If you want to use Dao stones and teleportation formations, the time and space travel between continents will require tens of thousands of Dao stones. And Han Xian's fish spirit way, when transmitting, it only consumes some of their energy, which is already very cost-effective. Are you crazy? If you become the leader of the clan, all the clan members will become emperors. Author, greedy for the body but not FO. Chapter 1072. In the room, Xiao Xian slightly circulated the avenue and soul in his body. The powerful soul energy was released and instantly filled the entire room, making all items in the room undetectable. This is still an outcome he can control. If he wanted to release all the power of his soul, he would be able to detect at least every move within a few kilometers without any hindrance. Under such circumstances, ordinary Kangshen realm practitioners who want to fight Xiao Xian are afraid that they will be defeated before fighting. At the same time, after feeling these powerful spiritual powers, Han Xian also nodded secretly. he was surprised to find that the soul energy in Xiao Xian's body was no weaker than that in his body. This was really something he couldn't believe. To know. As the former leader of the Yuling sect. Although now, his strength is not as good as before, but after all, he can still be regarded as a person who has touched the threshold of the Golden God realm. The power of the soul is also at a high level of reality. But Xiao Xian. How could he not be shocked and surprised that a mere second star of the Blue God realm could reach this level of strength? To know. Han Xian had practiced for hundreds of years before he raised his soul realm to a high level of reality. However, Xiao Xian, a young man in the Kang God realm, could not reach the realm of reality. The power of the soul has actually reached a high level of reality. How could this not shock Han Xian? After performing the Heaven and Earth Soul Search operation, Xiao Xian clearly felt that his soul power had also recovered. This also made him relieved. If you want to break through the divine realm and soul, cultivating in the Dan Pagoda is undoubtedly the fastest way. If he can go further, he must get the secret treasure on the 9th floor of the Dan Pagoda. Think of this. Xiao Xian also felt firm in his heart and slowly put away his soul. Speaking of which, you got a lot of benefits from that half-faced gilded iron fan, right? It seems, you also realized the divine power. At this time, Han Xian suddenly asked with a smile. Why do you, the old man, say that? Xiao Xian was stunned. Except for Yan Zi and Mu Lao, no one knew about the fact that he had gained divine power. Even Zhang Fulong didn't tell him. How did Han Xian know? Could it be that you really think I am a fool? Seeing Xiao Xian's appearance, Han Xian gave a bitter smile. Hey. I just got some insights by luck, it's nothing. Xiao Xian looked slightly embarrassed. As expected of a former powerful man in the Golden God realm, he could actually tell the clues with just one glance. Unbelievable. You can get the divine power from a broken artifact just by relying on it. This makes me a little bit unbelievable. This is really the first time you have understood divine power. Han Xian was amazed again. Then, he also took out a jade slip from the space magic weapon. This thing is called Shen Nianju, which can be used to cultivate divine power. I originally thought that I would give it to you when you reach the little Golden God realm, but now it seems that it's good to take it out now. Thank you. Thank you, Senior Han. Xiao Xian's face was filled with excitement for an instant. Since he obtained the divine power, he has tried to understand the rules of its operation. Unfortunately, no matter how he understood it, he could not understand the rules of this divine power. Yan Shui was treated last time. Although it is true that divine power was used. However, he did not really understand the rules of operation of divine power. In this case, this divine power actually has a special method of enlightenment. Xiao Xian felt like he was enlightened. No wonder before. He knows nothing about divine power. So, there are different ways to comprehend divine power? This really opened his eyes. In this case, if you want to practice divine power, you can actually pass the method. Xiao Xian was also a little surprised. He realized the divine power from that half of the fan, so he always thought that the divine power should be something obtained from external understanding. But today, judging from the divine thought Ju that Han Xian took out, doesn't that seem to be the case? Using acquired practice, it seems that one can also comprehend divine power? If that's the case, this divine power doesn't seem to be as magical as the legend says. Think of this. That's not what Xiao Xian is worried about now. Good. Some people spend their whole lives unable to understand it, but some people can obtain it casually by chance. Certainly. But in the future, how will he stand on the top of the entire Dao continent? Han Xian thought that Xiao Xian was worried about the grade of Shen Nianju, so he comforted him. However, the divine thought technique is just one kind. On the entire Dao continent, it was not that great, which also made Xiao Xian calm down a lot. Xiao Xian was also secretly surprised. The strength gap between Donghuang Zhu and Nanzan Haizhu is not just a little. In Nanzan Haizhu, any sect with some reputation will basically have methods for cultivating divine power. These methods are all-encompassing and ever-changing, some are sinister, some are grand, some are dark, some are bright, and some are, you need to screen carefully. What he didn't know was looking south towards Haizhu. It is clear. Xiao Xian's face became a little more curious, and he asked directly, "Dare you ask Senior Han, in this way, divine power can be obtained by practicing on your own. It's just that how to enhance the divine power after obtaining it is more important. If you want to truly stand on the top of the Dao continent." Han Xian explained, "On this trip to the Dan Pagoda, you may be able to see these methods of cultivating divine power. I'm afraid you will be surprised when the time comes. Although it is difficult to cultivate divine power, it is not impossible to cultivate it. The divine thought technique I gave you is also a very precious method for cultivating divine power." Han Xian handed over the divine thought Ju to him so solemnly. There must be a method for cultivating divine power in this divine mind technique. In this case, he really has to spend some time on it. Xiao Xian was a little moved. Under such circumstances, Han Xian nodded, "Speaking of it, things like divine power are easy to say and difficult to say. Could it be that the answer lies in this divine mind technique? It seems that it is really an extremely difficult thing to understand the reason for the great catastrophe of Tianyuan continent and primordial continent. You know, on the eastern wasteland, there are not a few methods of practicing martial arts, but he has never even heard of the cultivation of divine power. Even Malao worships and Feng Lishan. What's on your mind? The power of the gods is not originally a product of heaven and earth, but is cultivated by man." But even if Han Xian knew about this, he would be shocked and think Xiao Xian was a madman. The strength has been infinitely close to the strong men of the Golden God realm, but they have no understanding of the method of cultivating divine power. Hear this. This is proof enough. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Are you crazy? If you become the leader of the clan, all the clan members will become emperors. Author, greedy for the body but not FO. Chapter 1073. Nothing. I just remembered something and didn't understand it, that's all. Xiao Xian smiled. He does understand. What you say needs to be supported by strength. Now, if he is a strong man in the dragon god realm who has supreme divine power and has understood the way of heaven and earth, he may be qualified to say that he has understood the origin of the Dao continent. But currently he is only a second star in the blue god realm. What is the origin of mainland China? It's a bit ridiculous. In this case, it's better not to say anything. Seeing that Xiao Xian didn't speak, Han Xian thought that there was nothing wrong with him, so he simply continued, "In that case, I will go with you to the Yuling Pil Pagoda tomorrow." Good. Xiao Xian nodded naturally. But at this moment, a loud quarrel suddenly came from outside. This made Xiao Xian and Han Xian frown slightly. After arriving at Nanzan Haizhu, in order to avoid attracting attention, the two of them have always behaved very low-key and are currently living in an ordinary inn in Lingcheng. Who knows here? Can you still get into trouble? When things come to an end. Of course, you can't just sit back and be a turtle. At least you have to see what's going on. Han Xian took out two human skin masks. Han Xian and Xiao Xian instantly turned into two middle-aged men with sallow skin and haggard faces. On the surface, it's like a mortal without the breath of a cultivator. At the same time, the two of them also restrained their auras and blended into the crowd, looking inconspicuous at all. "Masters, our store really doesn't have any room, otherwise the store would never drive the customers out, right? Please raise your hands and spare the little one. Facing several strong men with arrogant faces, the waiter's face was full of respect, and he was so cautious that he almost didn't dare to speak. For these words, the dozen or so imposing men obviously didn't take it to heart and still looked contemptuous. Do you know that we are members of the Spirit Snake Alliance? This, little one, I don't know. The waiter's face paled obviously, and he quickly explained, I didn't expect it to be a small shop owned by a big shot in the Spirit Snake Alliance, a small shop that is so dazzling. Even though he said so. But Xiao Xian could see the embarrassment and nervousness on the waiter's face, and he was obviously disgusted and afraid of these people. Other customers in the store. Seeing these people from the Spirit Snake Alliance, they also looked at each other secretly, and some even hurriedly paid their bills and left. Obviously he doesn't like them. See this. Xiao Xian also roughly understood that most of the people from the Spirit Snake Alliance didn't have a good reputation, otherwise even the waiters wouldn't be afraid of them. I just don't know what the strength of this Spirit Snake Alliance is. He originally wanted to peek at Han Xian secretly and judge the strength of the Spirit Snake Alliance from the latter's reaction, but the latter was now wearing a human skin mask, so he couldn't tell anything. It turns out to be someone from the Spirit Snake Alliance. It seems that they are also here for the Danta trial. Han Xian opened his mouth and said with some solemnity in his tone, so, all three Eastern alliances will participate in this trial. Hear this. Xiao Xian was stunned. Since arriving in Nanzan Haizhu, Han Xian has not told him about the distribution of forces in Nanzan Haizhu, let alone the three Eastern alliances. So what kind of existence are these Eastern three alliances? The three Eastern alliances are the three most powerful sects in the eastern part of Nanzan Haizhu, namely the Yuling sect, the Spirit Snake Alliance and the White Flame Valley. The territories of these three sects are connected to each other, covering most of the eastern part of Nanzan Haizhu. It can be said that the sect leaders of these three major sects control the say in the eastern part of Nanzan Haizhu. Without waiting for Xiao Xian to ask questions, Han Xian told the story in detail. Hearing these words, Xiao Xian also nodded secretly. He had seen the strength of Yuling sect before, and now there was Spirit Snake Meng and Bai Yang Wu. If these three sects can be collectively called the three major sects in the eastern part of Nanzan Haizhu, so their strength should be about the same. In this case, the Spirit Snake Alliance and White Flame Valley are really difficult to deal with. After thinking about this, Xiao Xian's face became more solemn and he said directly, I didn't expect that there are so many powerful sects in Nanzan Haizhu. Among the three Eastern alliances, even the weakest Yuling sect has several strong men in the Golden God realm on the surface. As for whether there are stronger people secretly, it is unknown. In fact, the purpose is basically very clear. Han Xian also said, this trip to the Dan Pagoda will definitely have a strong abbot from the Golden God realm. You must not expose your relationship with me to avoid being implicated. Xiao Xian also put away his previous thoughts of teasing Han Xian. Such a thing. But the final result was not very good. Naturally, he was pushed into a corner and beaten randomly. When it counts, I know what to do. But now, Xiao Xian also discovered that Han Xian was not such an ordinary person, but a very kind old man. On the contrary, the Spirit Snake Alliance showed no fear at all. Instead, they still looked arrogant and domineering, as if they didn't take this matter to heart at all. I just hope that Xiao Xian can argue with himself and let him return to Yuling sect and become the leader of Yuling sect again. Han Xian and Xiao Xian almost knew it. The owner of the hotel came out to persuade him, but he was beaten hard. We from the Spirit Snake Alliance have traveled thousands of miles to come to your Yuling city to participate in the Danta trial. Don't you even have a guest room? Just think. In fact, when he first met Han Xian, Xiao Xian didn't take him seriously. Faced with so many looks, Now, you should know how peaceful the eastern wasteland was once, right? This attracted the attention of some residents, who came out of the room one after another and glared at the arrogant behavior of the Spirit Snake Alliance. That being the case, while the two were talking, a quarrel turned into a fight in the hotel. The strong man from the Spirit Snake Alliance was dissatisfied with the waiter for not arranging a guest room, so he started fighting with the waiter. He is just an ordinary old man carrying a wine gourd, nothing more. Xiao Xian was a little moved. After hearing this, could this be the way you treat guests in Yuling City? Senior Han, don't worry. Xiao Xian was naturally grateful. The waiter is just an ordinary person. But now, Han Xian can still think about him, otherwise Xiao Xian will expose his relationship with him. He could roughly understand that as the former leader of the Yuling sect, Han Xian must know some of the secret history of the Yuling sect. How can we resist these wolf-like practitioners? Everyone. At the same time, Han Xian worked hard to bring him here from the eastern wilderness continent. Instead, a man with a cold face took the lead and walked out. This already shows the protection for Xiao Xian. Are you crazy? If you become the leader of the clan, all the clan members will become emperors. Author, greedy for the body but not FO. Chapter 1074. After the man finished speaking. In an instant, it also aroused the anger and dissatisfaction of all the practitioners in the hotel. After all, the leading disciple of the Spirit Snake Alliance was talking about the entire Yuling City, which was a slap in the face to everyone in Yuling City. If no one comes forward at this time, doesn't it mean that he acquiesces to the words of the Spirit Snake Alliance disciple? Snake Wind. Don't be too presumptuous. This is Yuling City, and you are the territory of your Spirit Snake Alliance. A swordsman in white stood up and said dissatisfiedly to the cold man, if we really anger the Yuling sect, you Spirit Snake Alliance will also be left with nothing to eat. Say it. It also attracted the attention of many people in an instant. When they saw the speaker, everyone had strange expressions on their faces. Qin Long. I didn't expect it was him. Even Han Xian had a surprised expression on his face when he saw the swordsman in white. In just a few months, he actually broke through again. It's really amazing. Now, Xiao Xian looked at the scene in front of him and seemed to understand something. Judging from the conversation just now, the person who led the provocation in the hotel should be Shifeng, the leading disciple of the Spirit Snake Alliance, and the swordsman in white should be Qin Long, the leading disciple of the Yuling sect. At first glance, Xiao Xian couldn't see their strength either. However, after a little judgment, he could roughly tell that the strength of these guys was at least 8 stars above the Blue God realm. It is even possible to touch the threshold of the Little Golden God realm. This made Xiao Xian a little embarrassed. For so long. Speaking of which, for such a long period of time, his strength has been at the second level of the Blue God realm, even though he practices for a long time every day. But the realm seemed to be deliberately against him. There was never any way to go further. This made him helpless and annoyed. Especially, after he received the inheritance of divine power, his strength greatly increased despite the blessing of divine power. But the realm has become more stable. For him to stay in this position of the second star of the Kangshen realm and never make any progress, which simply makes him a little helpless and embarrassed. Perhaps, he should find time to ask Han Xian to see if the latter has any solution. Just thinking about it, Shifeng and Qin Long actually started fighting over a disagreement. These two people, one used a soft golden whip and the other used a cyan long sword, each move caused waves of fierceness. This also surprised Xiao Xian secretly. Judging from the battle scene, the strength of these two people should be at least above the Little Golden God level. This really surprised him. To know. He can roughly judge it. This snake wind can lead so many disciples of the Spirit Snake Alliance behind him. Obviously, he should be the leading disciple of the Spirit Snake Alliance. But Qin Long dared to confront him tit for tat at this time. He should be the leading disciple of Yuling sect. Looking south to the three major sects in the eastern part of Haizhu, the leading disciples of two sects have already appeared, leaving only the mysterious White Flame Valley. And the disciples of these two major sects are actually strong men in the Little Golden God realm. This really surprised Xiaoxian. This is just the leading disciple of the younger generation in their sect, nothing more. Just the leading disciple. If their strength has reached the Little Golden God realm, then wouldn't their sect elders and even the sect masters have to become the Golden God realm or even the Dragon God realm? So to say, above Nanzan Haizhu, is there not just a strong man in the Dragon God realm? Thinking of this, Xiaoxian didn't even have the intention to pay attention to the fight between Chifeng and Qin Long, and felt a little unbelievable in his heart. Dragon God realm. This is on the eastern wilderness continent. It is already considered the realm of extinction. Who knew that in Nanzan Haizhu, it would become a being that could be encountered by tiptoeing? This is still in Nanzan Haizhu, which is not very powerful. Put it this way. In the more powerful Zilong Hezhu and Beija Qingzhou, aren't there more powerful people in the Dragon God realm? So, is a strong person in the Dragon God realm really the pinnacle of a cultivator? Xiaoxian couldn't help but doubt. But at this moment, the fight between Chifeng and Qin Long suddenly became fierce. Under the light of the sword, the power of the avenue between the two collided violently. Xiaoxian could see that among the two of them, Snake Feng was the master of Taoism, while Qin Long was the master of Shenfa. Faced with Snake Wind, there are endless tricks. Qin Long can often dodge as long as he twists his body slightly. This surprised Xiaoxian and he couldn't believe it. To know. For cultivators of the Little Golden God realm, when they fight, every move contains divine power. The divine power is so great. Xiaoxian has naturally experienced it personally. Now, seeing these two Little Golden God realm powerhouses taking action, he got a lot of inspiration from them. He also learned a lot. However, what he was more curious about was why these two people could make such a choice now. Based on the previous situation, it seems that they are not worth taking the initiative to fight even if they disagree, right? Could it be that they had some conflicts before? Are you here specifically to fight today? Think about it. Maybe this is the only situation. Enough. Snake Feng, you chased me from Zhongzhou to here. Do you really think that your Spirit Snake Alliance has no rivals in Nanzan Haizhu? Just when Chifeng and Qin Long were fighting, a woman with a coquettish face and scantily clad clothes came out with a contemptuous mockery on her face. Xiaoxian noticed. This woman actually came out of Qin Long's room just now. This made his face look strange. Qin Long, a guy who looks serious on the surface, how can he hide a beautiful woman in a golden house and hide a beautiful woman in his room? And listen to this woman. Snake Wind seems to be following them all the way. Then there is no problem with Xiaoxian's previous inference. There is really a grudge between Chifeng and Qin Long. More importantly, the hatred between them seems to be over a woman. This is actually interesting. Is this the legendary love triangle? Xiaoxian couldn't help but look at this woman more. I saw that this woman had an oval face, pink eyes, a curvy waist and snow-white slender thighs. She looks like a stunning woman. Only. Xiaoxian even saw that this woman still had Tao power surging in her body, and the energy of Tao power was no weaker than Qin Long and Chifeng. This shocked him even more. This woman is not only good-looking and has a good figure, but she is also a cultivator, even a powerful cultivator? So who is this woman? Xiaoxian couldn't help but have some doubts on his face. Bai Qingyun of Bian Valley. I didn't expect that Bian Valley's strength has become so strong recently. At this moment, Han Xian beside him suddenly sighed, so, in this Danta trial, the strength of Bian Valley may be stronger than that of the Spirit Snake Alliance and the Fish Spirit Sect. Are you crazy? If you become the leader of the clan, all the clan members will become emperors. Author, greedy for the body but not FO. Chapter 1075. After hearing this, Xiao Xian was simply stunned. What's going on? He just came to participate in the Danta trial, that's all. Who knew that he would encounter such a thing? It's Snakewind and Qin Longs. Now there is a stronger Bai Qingyun? What the hell is this? Could it be that God trusted him so much that he specifically wanted to increase the difficulty of his trial? Tomorrow is the Danta trial. Now Xiao Xian knows that he has 3 opponents in the little golden god realm. Isn't this a little too much pressure on him? How about it? Feeling stressed. Just when Xiao Xian was thinking secretly, Han Xian beside him smiled and said, however, you don't need to be too stressed. These 3 people are considered the younger generation of masters in the entire Nanzan Heizhu. It is normal that you can't compare with them now. Hear this. Xiao Xian also secretly clenched his fists. He could also roughly imagine that at that time he was on the eastern wilderness continent and was considered a master of the younger generation. Who knows after coming to Nanzan Heizhu? It doesn't even count as anything? Even some random people can be much stronger than him. Such a thing is absolutely unacceptable to him. Only Xiao Xian also understood. Whether it is Qin Long Shifeng or Bai Qingyun, since they have the current strength, they have also cultivated step by step. Perhaps, they received a lot of help in the process of cultivation. It even took the advantage of Nanzan Heizhu. But these are things he can't change. The only thing he can do now is to think of ways to enhance his strength. At least, he wants to improve his strength to 5 stars in the Blue God realm or even 8 stars in the Blue God realm. This way he faces these opponents. There may still be some chance of winning. After thinking about this, Xiao Xian's eyes became firm again. Han Xian, who was next to him, also smiled and nodded after noticing the change in Xiao Xian's aura. Clearly pleased with his reaction. Just now, Han Xian really wanted to see how powerful people like Qin Long, Shifeng and Bai Qingyun were. Is it even a cultivator of the older generation like him? Not even as good as them. After understanding this, Han Xian said directly, however, you don't have to be too depressed. I dare say that if they were also cultivating in the eastern wasteland, their strength would not be as good as yours now. Senior Han, there is no need to comfort me. I also know that cultivating a religion is something that does not follow principles or rules. As long as you have enough strength, you will naturally be the master of this world. Xiao Xian smiled slightly. Once upon a time, he was considered a figure standing on the top of a continent, and he naturally knew the rules of operation on this continent. In this world, there is no such thing as fairness, there is only survival of the fittest. At that time, if Han Xian hadn't forcibly taken him to Nanzan Heizhu, I'm afraid he would have been controlled by that unknown Golden God realm powerhouse now, waiting to be casually tortured and killed. After all, in the eyes of a strong man in the Golden God realm, he, a 2nd star in the Blue God realm, is not much different from an ant. Although, depending on the long river of time, he might still be able to save his life. But this cowardly way of living. Obviously, it was not Xiao Xian's choice. To understand this, Xiao Xian did not hesitate and returned to the guest room. Regarding his reaction, Han Xian was obviously stunned for a moment. He was originally in Han Xian's thoughts. He thought Xiao Xian would at least show envy or shock. At least, there will be some emotion. Who knows? Xiao Xian turned out to be such a calm posture. This was really an unexpected thing for him. Through this incident, Han Xian understood Xiao Xian a little deeper. He could see that Xiao Xian was indeed a malleable talent. Don't be afraid in the face of danger. Even when faced with an enemy stronger than himself, he did not lose his position. Such a person is indeed a rare strong man. Han Xian believed it. Someday in the future, Xiao Xian will definitely become a truly amazing person. Next, with Bai Qingyun's mediation, Shifeng and Qin Long stopped fighting. Xiao Xian followed Han Xian and returned to his guest room to prepare for tomorrow's Danta trial. He can actually feel it. What happened today was actually a warning to him. Tell him. The practitioners participating in the Dan Pagoda are all young and powerful people who have been practicing for many years. If they are not confident enough, they must not reveal their identity casually. Otherwise, I'm afraid his life will really be in danger. On that note, maybe Xiao Xian really needs to think of a way to improve his strength, otherwise even if he performs well in the Danta this time, I'm afraid I won't get more opportunities in the end. But at the same time, Xiao Xian did not lose confidence because of the battle just now. On the contrary, he could feel that although the Dao strength of these three people was not weak, their soul power was not that strong. Although the power of the avenue is fighting, he may be at a disadvantage, but if he fights on the power of the soul, he will be more confident. Think of this. Xiao Xian also had a little more confidence. The next day, under the leadership of Han Xian, Xiao Xian also entered this legendary giant city, Yuling City. Standing in front of the majestic city gate, he saw a huge white bonefish head placed on top of the city. Far away, he could feel the subtle yet majestic soul aura emanating from the fish head. This surprised him. Obviously, this fish head should be the head of a monster that was beheaded and had been dead for many days. But even so, he could still feel the aura on the fish head, which was enough to prove how powerful the fish head was. And the reason why the Yuling sect placed this fish head here. Undoubtedly, they were also showing off how brilliant their past achievements were. This is the remains of a 9th grade monster. It is said that this 9th grade monster made trouble in the eastern part of Nanzan Haizhu, and was later killed by the cooperation of the Yuling sect Spirit Snake Alliance and the strong men of the White Flame Valley. This head is proof. Xiao Xian hasn't asked any questions yet. Some of the cultivators who entered Yuling City had an explanation. Hear this. He couldn't help but secretly nodded in surprise. A 9th grade monster, which is already equivalent to a human dragon god realm cultivator, I didn't expect it to be killed. This is enough to show that the practitioners in Nanzan Haizhu are indeed powerful. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Are you crazy? If you become the leader of the clan, all the clan members will become emperors. Author, greedy for the body but not FO. Chapter 1076. Then why do these people put fish heads on top of the city? Is it just to show off? Originally, Xiao Xian just thought that this fish head was at best a 7th grade monster when he was alive. Who knew that this fish head was actually a 9th grade monster? Such a level of monster. Let alone something as important as a skull. Even a drop of blood or a piece of bone contains pure divine power. Don't say anything else. The half-faced fan that was in the Wanjin Chamber of Commerce at that time was only used by a powerful monster beast, and it already contained the power of the gods. For such an important demon head, it must be extremely precious inside. Such a treasure. But why didn't the Yuling sect hide inside the sect instead of putting it at the top of the city? Aren't you afraid of being stolen or robbed? It's not true. There is a strong sense of the ocean in this fish head. As long as you get close, any cultivator can understand it. Even those who are related to the ocean can benefit from it. This guy who looked like Bai Xiaosheng smiled and said, so, there is no need to worry about being stolen. Hear this. Xiao Xian also secretly sighed. This 9th grade monster is truly extraordinary. Even though he is dead, he still has such a great effect. At the same time, he also understood the meaning of what Bai Xiaosheng said. It was obvious that the fish head placed on top of the city would benefit all the cultivators of Yuling City. It can be said, all the practitioners in Yuling City are the protectors of Yutu. If anyone steals or even destroys fish heads, isn't that making him an enemy of the entire Yuling City cultivators? Figure this out. Xiao Xian also nodded. Just over the years, there seems to be a strange ocean avenue in this fish head, which even the current leaders of the three Eastern alliances cannot comprehend. Seeing everyone's strong interest, Bai Xiaosheng continued. Strange ways of the ocean? Could it be that this way of the ocean cannot even be understood by practitioners in the Golden God realm? Xiao Xian couldn't help being stunned, and looked back at Han Xian, only to see the latter's expressionless face also nodded slightly. Obviously he also recognized this sentence. This also made him couldn't help but raise his head and take a closer look at this huge and ferocious white bone fish head. Do not know why. When I saw this white bone fish head, the path of chaos in Xiao Xian's body seemed to be ready to move. He couldn't help but be interested in this. Could it be that his way of chaos has any connection with this white bone fish head? March along the way. It seems to be because of the Danta trial. Xiao Xian noticed that most of the cultivators who entered Yuling City were alchemists, weapon refiners and rune masters with strong spiritual abilities. There are very few practitioners who temper their bodies. And these alchemists are surrounded by many guards. This was not beyond his expectation. After all, no matter what continent they are on, practitioners with special skills such as alchemists and weapon refiners are the most popular beings in the sect. The elixir weapons they concocted casually. It will become a hot commodity in no time. And if they can become alchemists or weapon refiners, their soul power will not be weak. Therefore, these people are the same as core disciples in each sect. Seeing the mighty and domineering appearance of these alchemists, Xiao Xian also shook his head helplessly. Talk about it? With the power of his soul, coupled with the help of 10,000 gold prescriptions, becoming an alchemist is simply a piece of cake. However, he has never had the opportunity to become an alchemist for such a long time, so he does not have this kind of treatment. So I can only miss this opportunity. Now, look at those extremely rich alchemists. Xiao Xian would be lying if he said he was not envious. Did not expect. A pill tower trial actually attracted so many alchemists. Saw the huge crowd. Han Xian seemed a little surprised and said, could it be that there are other treasures appearing in this Danta trial? Hear this. Xiao Xian gave a big eye roll. If he remembered correctly, Han Xian was originally the leader of Yuling sect, so he naturally understood the situation in Yuling City. At this time, I'm afraid no one needs to say more. He should know a lot of things himself. Why are you still looking confused now? Is this how a leader of a sect should behave? Faced with Xiao Xian's questioning eyes. These are quite a lot of profits. Instead, Han Xian shook his head and said, actually, although this Danta trial was held in Yuling City, it was not held by Yuling section. This is a bit strange. Since I met Han Xian. Hearing Xiao Xian's words. Instead, he started to hesitate. He also knew that this old guy was quite honest with him and would tell him anything directly. To this actually aroused Xiao Xian's curiosity. It's just that these resources don't need to be borne by the disciples, but by the entire continent. Could it be that this old guy really had some tricks on him? Han Xian explained, there are dozens of alchemy pagodas on the entire Nanzan Haizhu. The ownership rights of these alchemy pagodas belong to the alchemy pagodas, and the profits are also theirs. The purpose is also to strengthen one's own strength. Seeing that Xiao Xian didn't understand, Han Xian continued to explain, as long as they are outstanding alchemists in Nanzan Haizhu, they will carefully train them. Han Xian seemed a little embarrassed, and his eyes were a little dodgy. Why now? Why are you holding this conference? Xiao Xian didn't say much and just continued, based on this, it's obvious that the Yuling sect is prepared. Generally, sects have their own power and territory, and they also train their own disciples. Above Nanzan Haizhu, there is an existence called Danhui. This is a powerful neutral association that aims to cultivate outstanding alchemists in Nanzan Haizhu. However, if there is really a treasure, wouldn't the Yuling sect keep it for its disciples? Kindly train disciples for free? Is it possible that you want to give the treasure to another sect? Oh, Xiao Xian was stunned. Think about it. Xiao Xian is also a bit novel. However, according to Han Xian, the existence of this alchemy society is actually to help Nanzan Haizhu cultivate more alchemists. Uncertain. It's true that training is not free. Isn't this a bit strange? Is Danhui so kind-hearted? Does it train disciples for free? Xiao Xian asked. That's true. And then get more resources. Could it be that this alchemy society is so selfless? Moreover, the alchemy society produces tens of thousands of elixirs every year. It seems that this is not impossible. Are you crazy? If you become the leader of the clan, all the clan members will become emperors. Author, greedy for the body but not FO. Chapter 1077. It's amazing. If this is the case, wouldn't Danhui make a lot of money every year? No, every day. Xiao Xian couldn't help but said. Within Nanzan Haizhu, there are hundreds of millions of cultivators. If it is said that the elixirs consumed by these cultivators all come from the Danhui, how many Tao stones did the alchemy club earn? Han Xian seemed to have seen Xiao Xian's thoughts, and nodded and said, indeed, in the entire Nanzan Haizhu, the Danhui is a big force, not to mention the three eastern alliances, just a few in Zhongzhou. The alliance attaches great importance to them. Speaking of which, Xiao Xian also nodded. That being the case, he doesn't have to worry about the safety of the pill trial. But at the same time, he also discovered another problem. This time, judging from the number of people alone, there are quite a few people who plan to participate in this alchemy trial. That being the case, can this fish spirit pill tower withstand the trials of so many cultivators? For a moment, Xiao Xian was a little suspicious. Inside Yuling City, Xiao Xian and Han Xian moved forward, and soon they arrived in front of the Danta trial conference. After paying 10,000 stones, Xiao Xian walked into the alchemy meeting alone. He noticed. In the very center of Yuling City, there is indeed a huge white tower that towers into the clouds. The tower is divided into 9 floors, each floor is large enough to accommodate 100 people. Looking from a distance, this huge white tower is more like a huge stone pillar. At the gate of Danta, 3 old men with white beards wearing white robes and gold patterns on their chests stood tall and looked extraordinary. It's easy to see. The 3 of them are the organizers of the stand meeting. And in front of them, there was a huge golden alchemy cauldron. The fire in the alchemy cauldron is raging, and the alchemy energy is rich. 3 strong and powerful divine soul powers are being continuously infused into it to maintain the balance of the flames in the alchemy cauldron. Apparently he was refining elixirs. 3 golden lions. It is said that they just passed the alchemist test some time ago and have reached the level of 3rd grade alchemist. Is what you said true? It's unbelievable. A 3rd grade alchemist can already refine 3rd grade or even 4th grade elixirs. I didn't expect that they would come here to organize an elixir trial. Not only that, I heard that they came here not only for the trial of the Alchemy Society, but also for the purpose of recruiting disciples. Each of them plans to recruit a personal disciple. The elixir refined this time will give me the first place in this elixir tower trial. I heard people talking around me. Xiao Xian became a little more interested. A 3rd grade alchemist. Speaking of which, he was once a powerful alchemist on Tianyuan continent. Now we are on the Great Dao continent. I don't know what level the alchemy skills he once practiced can reach. All along, on the Great Dao continent, he didn't even have the chance to refine medicine. Today, he took the opportunity to see how capable these third-grade alchemists were. Everyone. What the three of us refine today is the fourth-grade golden dragon pill. This time, whichever kid can become the number one in the Dan Club can get this fourth-grade golden dragon pill and become an official disciple of our Dan Club. A slightly older man with a white beard said. Say it. It immediately aroused excitement among the practitioners. Fourth-grade golden dragon pill. This is a pill that helps Kangshen realm practitioners break through to the golden god realm. As long as it is swallowed, it can greatly increase the probability of promotion. In addition, it can also help practitioners condense the way of the golden dragon. Therefore, many cultivators at the peak of the blue god realm will look for a golden dragon pill to swallow when they are about to break through to the little golden god realm. But they are both golden dragon pills. Alchemists of different levels also refine different elixirs. Third-grade alchemists like the golden lion San Lao, the elixirs they refine are undoubtedly of the most suitable grade. Further up, when they reach the fourth level of alchemist, it is impossible for them to refine the elixirs needed for the blue god realm. So this time, the elixirs refined by the golden lion three elders are naturally very precious. It turns out to be really the golden dragon pill. The golden dragon pill refined by a third-grade alchemist is worthless if left outside. You are just short-sighted. If you really get the first place in the Alchemy Pagoda trial, you will be an official disciple of the three golden lions in the future. What does the golden dragon pill mean? Aren't you just going to have it in the future? After hearing the words of the three golden lion elders, a group of disciples were also extremely excited. Regarding the reactions of these people, Xiao Xian seemed much calmer. He had never heard of the golden lion three elders before. This time I come to participate in the Danta trial. His purpose is just to increase the power of the soul, and if possible, he also wants to find out what kind of treasure is on the 9th floor of the Dan Pagoda. As for apprenticeship and learning skills, unless the three golden lion elders really have something that interests him, a mere golden dragon pill is really not worthy of him deigning to become his disciple. Soon, under the organization of the three golden lions, the first batch of Dan Pagoda testers filed into the Dan Pagoda. Xiao Xian noticed that after these trialists entered, they obviously frowned in unison, and their faces became more solemn. It was obvious that he had felt the pressure of the divine soul inside. However, the divine soul pressure on the first level of Danta is not that strong. Most of the testers can resist this level of soul pressure by just condensing their souls a little, and then move towards the second level. On the second floor, Xiao Xian saw that the reactions of these practitioners were different. Some trialists have strong souls and are still walking on the second floor as if nothing happened, and have even begun to walk towards the third floor. Some of the trialists were so spirited that they were already struggling a bit when they reached the second level, and the pace of walking up became slower. However, the souls of the testers participating in the Danta trial this time are not weak, only the pressure of the souls in the first few levels. Obviously it can't stop too many testers. Basically, most people can pass the first 3 levels of trials. On the 4th floor, the differences quickly emerged. It turned out that most of the cultivators were blocked in front of the stairs on the 4th floor. Xiao Xian saw that there was an invisible barrier on the stairs leading to the 4th floor, blocking the steps of most trialists. At last, only 3 or 4 people barely set foot on the 4th floor. But judging from their ferocious and painful expressions, it was obvious that setting foot on the 4th floor was not that smooth. Xiao Xian can feel it. Judging from their appearance, even if they enter the 4th level, these trialists will not be able to hold on for long. Really? After a while, These trialists fell one by one on the fourth floor of the Dan Pagoda. The three elders of the Golden Lion also took action decisively and rescued them from the fourth floor of the Dan Pagoda. Are you crazy? If you become the leader of the clan, all the clan members will become emperors. Author, greedy for the body but not FO. Chapter 1078. Attention all disciples participating in the trial. Although the pressure of the souls in the Dan Pagoda is very beneficial to tempering your souls, you should not be too overestimated or too reckless. Otherwise, the powerful pressure of the Danta soul will crush your talisman. Checked out these disciples. After using the soul magic weapon to warm their souls so that they were fine, the three elders of the Golden Lion announced to all the testers with a serious look. This time. Then the testers also became cautious. Basically, they are folded in front of the stairs on the fourth floor, and few people can set foot on the fifth floor. This actually made the three elders of Golden Lion shake their heads one after another. Obviously, they were quite disappointed with the soul power of these testers. But soon, a talented disciple appeared among the trialists. I saw that this grey-robed disciple with a long sword on his back, although he walked at the end at the beginning, took one step at a time, and finally stepped firmly on the ground of the fifth floor. Although from his face with protruding veins, it can be seen that he is gritting his teeth and holding on, but at least he is much stronger than the previous testers. Mengfeng of the Spirit Snake Alliance. As expected of a disciple of the three Eastern Alliances, the power of the soul in his body is indeed stronger than that of ordinary trialists. I wonder if Mengfeng has a chance to challenge the sixth floor. It's hard to say. Judging from Mengfeng's appearance, he must have reached the end of his strength and it is difficult to go any further. Hear the chatter. Xiao Xian was not surprised. He had heard some words before. It was said that the three Eastern Alliances had been preparing for this Danta trial for a long time. Needless to say, the purpose must be for the treasures on the ninth floor of the Dan Pagoda. Although this so-called Mengfeng is more dazzling than the previous trialists, in terms of strength, it is not at the level of competing for ninth-level treasures. Really? Although Mengfeng set foot on the fifth floor. But when we reached the sixth floor of stairs, we couldn't go any further. Finally, under the regretful eyes of other trialists, he could only give up. Rao is so. The Golden Lion third elder still whispered a few words to the disciple around him, and then asked this disciple to appear in front of all the testers. Invited Mengfeng to his side. Obviously, Mengfeng's performance just now has satisfied the three elders of the Golden Lion. If nothing else happens next, he should also enter the Alchemy Society and become a registered disciple of the three Golden Lions. Don't look at it as just a registered disciple. However, there is also a chance to enter the Dan Society. Hearing the alchemy experience of the three Golden Lion elders and having this relationship, he will have fewer debtors than ordinary cultivators in the future. I saw the envious eyes of all the trialists. Xiao Xian felt normal. He knew that whether it was alchemy or cultivation, it was basically guided by the master and practiced individually. It is certainly a good thing to have a good master. But the more important soul requires later efforts and understanding. Without these, no matter how good a master you are, it will be of no use. Xiao Xian has been practicing in Tianyuan continent for such a long time. Plus old man Tianyuan's $1 million prescription. He already has enough confidence to become a powerful alchemist without relying on anyone. As for today's Golden Lion three elders, he really may not be able to see it. Soon. After batches of trialists entered the Danta for trials, it was finally Xiao Xian's turn. However, this time Xiao Xian did feel invisible pressure. Under the fiery gazes of onlookers. He felt that the people who followed him in the trial seemed a bit unusual and should be much stronger than the previous ones. He glanced at the crowd. As expected, he actually saw three acquaintances from before. Snake Feng, Qin Long and Bai Qingyuan. Xiao Xian was also a little dumbfounded by this. He didn't expect that he could meet the strongest disciple of the three Eastern alliances just by casually participating in the Danta trial. To know the purpose of these three people participating in the trial was the same as his, all for the treasures above the 9th floor. Now we meet together. For Xiao Xian, there was no good thing. Now, if Xiao Xian wants to get the treasures on the 9-story Dan Pagoda, he can only climb up on the heads of these people. Amazing. The three snake winds were actually assigned to the same group. It's unbelievable. It seems that the competition in this group must be very exciting. The treasures on the 9th floor of the Dan Pagoda can only be obtained by one person. Who do you think it is? It's hard to say, these three people are not weak in strength. I heard that Snake Wind from the Spirit Snake Alliance and Qin Long from the Fish Spirit Sect have reached the initial stage of spiritual power. They should be the most promising people to get the 9th level treasure, right? A young cultivator said enviously. Young man, you are ignorant. After the young cultivator finished speaking, he was interrupted by an old man. Don't you know that Bai Qingyun's soul in Bian Valley has reached the middle stage of reality? The old man said this. It immediately shocked everyone present. Everyone looked at the old man in surprise, a little unable to believe what he said. After all, Snake Feng Qinlong and the others are indeed the proud disciples of Nanzan Hai's Hu, but even they have only just entered the real realm of spiritual strength. This is already considered a very powerful divine soul realm. With this state, Shifeng and Qin Long had no problem entering the 6th floor of the Alchemy Pagoda, and could even challenge the 7th floor. But, according to what the old man said, Bai Qingyun of Bian Valley, his soul strength has actually reached the middle level of reality. This is simply unimaginable. If this is true, then maybe the treasure on the 9th floor of the Danta this time belongs to her? This, old man, is what you said true. If the power of Bai Qingyun's soul has really reached the middle level of reality, doesn't it mean that she has a chance to enter the 9th level of the Dan Pagoda? The young disciple looked shocked. However, compared to this young disciple, the old man is much more steady. It's not that simple. This Dan Pagoda was made by a strong man in the Dragon God realm back then. The soul strength requirements for the disciples who participated in the trial were very high. Even if you are at the middle level of reality, you may not be able to enter the final 9th level. The old man shook his head. Perhaps, only if the power of the soul reaches the later stages of reality, or even, has reached the legendary divine realm, this case has the qualifications and opportunity to enter the 9th level. Say it. It caused even more silence. Some of the testers who were watching were also speechless. Divine realm. This is a legendary realm. It is said that there are some golden god realms in Nanzan Hai's Hu, which can be achieved by cultivators who specialize in tempering the soul. But a person of this level, there is no way to enter the Fish Spirit Pill Tower. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Are you crazy? If you become the leader of the clan, all the clan members will become emperors. Author, greedy for the body but not FO. Chapter 1079. Old Timer. I heard that among our Nanzan Hai's Hu, Danshan, the president of Danhui, is the only one who has broken through to the divine soul in the golden god realm, right? Outside the Dan Pagoda, the young cultivator couldn't help but ask. At the same time, some cultivators also set their sights on this old man, and they were obviously very interested in this issue. Good. Back then, before Danshan became the president of the Dan Society, he was known as Nanzan Hai's Hu, the last talented soul alchemist. In the Blue God realm, he is already the most ranked 4th grade alchemist in Nanzan Hai's Hu. The old man touched his beard and said, "Say it." For a time. It also aroused the emotion of a group of people. After all, an ordinary 4th grade alchemist must at least reach the realm of the little golden god, and his soul power must be at the lower level of the real realm. Dan Tianneng is only in the Kangshen realm. Being able to become a 4th grade alchemist is enough to prove how talented he is in soul cultivation. Do not know either. This by King Yun, will I ever have the chance to look at Danshan's neck in the future? The old man smiled. At the same time, Danta Xiaoxian, who followed a group of trialists into the Dan Pagoda, had already felt at this moment that this group of trialists were far stronger than before. This made him somewhat confused. You know, before signing up to participate in this Danta trial, he had never shown his strength. In the entire Nanzan Haizu, except for Han Xian, no one knows his true strength. Judging from the appearance of the people around him, they should all be seed players. Why was he assigned to this group? Could it be that his strength has also been seen? Or is it just luck? For a time, Xiaoxian really didn't quite understand. Regarding these, he did not say it directly. Instead, he followed these seated players with a calm face. Ouch! Brothers, guess what I saw? A 2-star trialist in the Blue God realm. Ha ha ha. Isn't it possible? The 2nd star of the Blue God realm, I'm afraid even the soul is not stable, why can I come here? Such a soul may not even be able to enter the 2nd level. Just when Xiaoxian was about to follow these people and enter the Dan Pagoda, there was a burst of ridicule around him. For these words, Xiaoxian felt no emotion in his heart. After practicing for tens of millions of years, he has heard too many sarcastic remarks like this. If everyone had to care about it, he might not do anything every day. Besides, this is his first time here. In Nanzan Haizu. He also didn't want to cause unnecessary trouble. As for these short-sighted guys, in the end, Xiaoxian will naturally slap them in the face with the final result. You can't judge people based on their realm. At that time, when Senior Dan Tian participated in the Dan Pagoda trial, he was only a 5-star member of the Blue God realm. Didn't he become a blockbuster and become a person standing at the top of the Dan Pagoda? At this time, a cold voice came. It actually helped Xiaoxian get out of the siege. This time he was a little more curious. When he turned around, he saw a woman with a cold face but scantily clad clothes. Under the thin fabric, the woman's plump and proud figure is ready to be revealed, and her 2 slender, straight white thighs are exposed, attracting endless reverie. On the snow-white face of melon seeds, the tall nose is paired with big eyes, and the small cherry mouth also exudes a noble aura. It turned out to be Bai Qingyun whom he met in the hotel before. This also aroused Xiaoxian's curiosity. Speaking of which, he and Bai Qingyun were ruthless and had never had any friendship before. Why did this woman want to speak for him? But he didn't wait to see more. Bai Qingyun walked straight to the Dan Pagoda. Obviously, she didn't take Xiaoxian seriously, and just thought it was just a simple task. Snort. The boy is lucky. Bai Qingyun's reputation is obviously not small. After she said this, the people who had just mocked her didn't say anything more. On the other hand, Shifeng glanced at Xiaoxian gloomily, followed Bai Qingyun coldly into the Dan Pagoda. As for Qin Long, he seemed to have something on his mind, and without even looking at Xiaoxian, he continued to walk into the Dan Pagoda. See this scene. Xiaoxian's lips curled up slightly. It seems that this trial of the fish spirit pill pagoda is not that simple. Enter the Danta. Just after reaching the first floor, Xiaoxian felt that there was a faint pressure of divine soul shrouding his divine palace. What's new is that? He looked around, but did not see any magic weapon, as if the divine soul pressure appeared out of thin air. Looking towards the southeast corner of Dan Pagoda, a dark staircase winds up, which is obviously the road leading to the 2nd level of Danta. On weekdays, The first level of the Dan Pagoda is generally used by practitioners in the spiritual realm. Therefore, basically all the testers did not stop and continued walking towards the second floor of the Dan Pagoda. As for seed players like Shifeng Qinlong and Bai Qingyun, in order to save time, he moved quickly, like three streams of light, already reaching the third floor and preparing to attack the fourth floor. Other trialists. I could only watch their speed helplessly as they walked honestly to the second floor step by step. And Xiao Xian followed at the back. One step at a time. While slowly climbing up, he was also constantly experiencing the condensing effect that the fish spirit pill tower brought to his soul. Before entering the Danta, Han Xian once told him that the most precious thing in the fish spirit pill tower is naturally the treasure on the ninth floor of the pill tower. However, not everyone can get something of that level. Now that you have entered the Danta, it is best to maximize the effect of the Dan Pagoda. While climbing the Dan Pagoda, you can use the pressure of the soul of the Dan Pagoda to make your own soul more condensed. Now, Xiao Xian is borrowing this effect. Slowly increase the level of concentration of your soul. He could clearly feel that as the time he spent in the Dan Pagoda increased, the soul in his divine palace was continuously compressed. This actually attracted his attention. In fact, he knew that since he obtained the soul-searching technique, he has encountered many adventures. Rely on these adventures. His soul power is much stronger than that of people in the same realm. But in the same way, the excessively rapid spiritual soul cultivation also made his divine palace become a little frivolous and its foundation was a little unstable. If you want to go further in the future, he must urgently solve this problem with an unstable foundation. Within the Danta, Xiao Xian was not in a hurry to go to a higher level, but silently operated the heaven and earth soul searching technique in the Dan Pagoda. Relying on the pressure of the soul in the Danta. Slowly, the soul in his divine palace became solidified. Are you crazy? If you become the leader of the clan, all the clan members will become emperors. Author, greedy for the body but not FO. Chapter 1080. Outside the Danta, Xiao Xian's unique actions attracted the attention of the three golden lion elders. This son is also somewhat interesting. Although he is only a second star in the blue god realm, the power of the soul seems not weak. The great elder touched his beard. Moreover, he cannot forget to practice in the Dan Pagoda, but he is also different from ordinary disciples. Different? Oh. Brother, are you a little too optimistic about him? He's just a second star in the blue god realm. Yes, does it mean that Big Brother thinks that all cultivators in the world can be as amazing and talented as President Danshan? The other two elders laughed. They didn't take the great elder's words to heart at all. On the contrary, they were a little disdainful of Xiao Xian, thinking that the latter was just showing off on purpose. Great elder. On the other hand, Shifeng and Qin Long seem to have performed better than we expected. They are already preparing to set foot on the sixth floor. The second elder's focus was on Snake Feng Qinlong and Bai Qingyun. In his opinion, among this group of Dan Pagoda trial disciples, only these three are the most promising to become disciples of the Dan Club. Others are just foils. Not worthy of attention at all. It's really good. It is said that this time Bai Qingyun from Bian Valley is the one with the strongest soul among them. Why is he at the back now? The third elder frowned slightly. Among the three elders of the Golden Lion, he is the most junior and is mainly responsible for collecting information about this alchemy meeting. Therefore, he also knew early on that Bai Qingyun was the strongest disciple. But at this moment, the great elder couldn't help but focus on Xiao Xian. Do not know why. When he saw Xiao Xian silently tempering his soul, he always had a feeling that this young man might become the biggest dark horse in this Dan meeting. At this time, on the sixth floor of Dan Pagoda, there are already two new guests. One is Snake Feng from the Spirit Snake Alliance, and the other is Qin Long from the Yuling sect. for these two people to enter the 6th level. Most practitioners are not surprised, they are more concerned about whether these two people can go further. As for most of the other disciples, on the 4th level, the difference was already shown. Almost half of the trial disciples were blocked by the strong pressure of the souls on the 5th level. And the remaining half, they basically stopped at the door of the 5th floor. What a powerful divine soul pressure. Damn it, this fish spirit pill pagoda is really extraordinary. I feel like my palace is going to shatter. That's all, I can only get to the 5th floor at most. There are many trial disciples. At first they entered the 5th level, but soon they were suppressed by the strong divine soul pressure in the Dan Tower. After a while, they voluntarily gave up the challenge. It's unimaginable. With such a powerful soul, can anyone really challenge the 9th level successfully? It's hard to say, but this time Bai Qingyun from Bian Valley is the most likely. After the eliminated disciple walked out of the Dan Pagoda, they were also reluctant to leave, looking back at the towering Dan Pagoda behind them. They are clear. This time, the Fish Spirit Pill Tower trial is definitely the best opportunity to improve the power of the soul. After losing this opportunity, I don't know when and what month I will have the same opportunity. At this moment, at the door of the 5th floor, there were two people with solemn expressions, ready to challenge. One is Bai Qingyun. The other one is Xiao Xian. Bai Qingyun turned his head inadvertently, and when he saw Xiao Xian following not far behind him, his eyes showed surprise. But calm soon returned. Subsequently, the majestic soul power in her body was released, and a soul armor surrounded herself, and then she stepped towards the 5th floor. After having this layer of soul armor, as far as she was concerned, the huge divine soul pressure on the 5th level was as if it didn't exist, and it couldn't stop her at all. This scene, it not only shocked the three elders of the Golden Lion, it also surprised Shifeng Qinlong, who was resisting the pressure of the soul on the 5th floor. They did not expect that Bai Qingyun's soul power was so strong. You can now rely on the divine soul to create divine soul armor. You know, this soul armor is extremely powerful. Not only can it resist ordinary soul attacks, it can also resist Dao attacks. The stronger the soul armor is, the resistance to the pressure of the divine soul is also higher. After having this layer of pale white translucent soul armor, Bai Qingyun was obviously much more relaxed in the Dan Pagoda and walked straight towards the 5th floor. Suddenly he discovered something unusual. The strength is equal. Among the disciples, they all behaved normally, but the way they behave now is extraordinary. On the other hand, an elder beside them had been observing the 5th floor of the Dan Pagoda and said nothing. That is Xiao Xian. This made Shifeng and Qinglong look shocked. Looking at Bai Qingyun, they felt a little hard to accept in their hearts. Amazing. The eyes of the third elder were full of approval. They were already far behind. The second elder said the same thing. As expected of a talented disciple who has received the inheritance from White Flame Valley. The three Golden Lion elders were also surprised. Obviously, he quite recognized Bai Qingyun's strength. Among the disciples who entered the 5th floor of the Alchemy Pagoda, apart from Bai Qingyun, there was one person who behaved unusually relaxedly. Such a person is either a person with no pretensions to his abilities, or a young handsome man who is very confident in his own strength. Bai Qingyun is so young, and his realm is at the peak of the Blue God realm, but he can temper the power of his soul to the middle level of the real realm. At this moment, Bai Qingyun can condense the soul armor so skillfully, which means that she has been in this realm for a while. Despite the pressure of the soul on the 5th level, number 4 did not stop her. It seems that Bai Qingyun's soul strength has reached the middle level of reality. I'm afraid she should be the first in this alchemy competition. Once upon a time, the three of them were known as the most talented disciples of the three Eastern Leagues of Nanzan Haizu. Yes, even Chifeng and Qinlong are slightly inferior to Bai Qingyun in terms of soul power. They know that the soul armor is the symbol of the real middle-level soul. This is already far stronger than people in the realm. It didn't take long. Different from the other two elders. Under everyone's gaze. Seeing how Bai Qingyun moved forward easily, it was obvious that the latter had not used all her strength. Could it be that she really had a chance to challenge the 9th level of the Danta? This really surprised them. He actually behaved like a fish in water? Although this person has always been secretive. In the Danta. Walking in the Dan Pagoda. Like walking in a garden? Even on the 5th floor, he didn't seem to be under too much pressure from the soul from the Dan Pagoda. Instead, he just kept walking around. At the same time,